So the recent 3.1 release for the CorOS on the Quad Cortex included a new model for a Fender Deluxe 64 Vintage. And honestly, I've been a little obsessed with this amp since it came out. I've been using it a lot. And I've done some videos with it recently, but I wanted to do kind of a real deep dive into some of the different settings on the amp, specifically around the different modes between normal, vibrato, and the vibrato with the bright cap off. And kind of check out the differences between the two. They're pretty subtle, but I want to kind of dive into that and see the differences, whether it's a clean tone or a driven tone, and see what we can get. So what I've got here is I have a preset set up with some starting settings that we can compare, but we'll tweak along the way. It's a pretty straight ahead preset. It's based on the preset I just did comparing the Lone Star and the 64 Deluxe. You've got the amp. We're running through a dual IR. These are two amalgam IRs that I like a lot. I'll put the link to where to find those in the description. I have a little bit of reverb and delay on the back end, pretty light. I don't want to put too much on because we want to hear the amps. And then I've got a few things up front in terms of overdrives and compressors that we can check out if we want to. So the amp right now just sounds like this. As you can see, I'm using my Fender Tele, even with the Fender neck pickup, which is a vintage style pickup. It has a little bit of grit to it. And these are the settings I've been using a lot in terms of running in a vibrato mode. I've got the volume at 3, trebles at 4, little basses at 4 to 4, and I'm running in the high mode. But let's go ahead and start playing with the modes and hear how it sounds. So if I switch over to the vibrato mode with the bright cap off. And so this is a mod that a lot of people do to take the bright cap off the vibrato channel to kind of warm it up. And the Quad Cortex is trying to model this, but I think the effect is pretty subtle. You can hear there's definitely less top end, a little more of a mid maybe. I think it's enough that I would probably raise the treble on this one just a tad. So there's a definite difference, but on the cleanest tone, it's pretty subtle. We'll hear maybe how it sounds on higher gains, but for now, I think it's pretty straightforward. Let's try the normal mode. And so the normal mode on the amp, obviously you can plug into the normal side or the vibrato side. Most people use the vibrato side because that's where the reverb is, but the normal side has some specific physical differences to it that tends to, I think, give it more kind of low end and mids. And so let's hear how that sounds on the Quad Cortex. And as you can see, I did push the volume on the normal mode a little more because it is a little lower gain. So the normal mode definitely is a little mellower than the vibrato mode. I think, one of the things I liked more about the Lone Star when I was testing against this amp was on the higher gain stuff, I thought the Lone Star was a little more tame or controlled. It had a little more mellowness to it. So maybe with the normal mode, that'll work out better. We'll try that in a bit. The other thing I wanted to try out was changing the input mode from high to low. And so, again, I've compensated a little bit on the volume here, but if we compare, I think it is just one of a gain difference. So I don't know that this really makes kind of a tonal difference to how the amp is sounding. Obviously, if you're using a guitar that has hotter pickups, maybe you want to use the low input mode in order to keep it cleaner. The other thing that I've used it for is the low input. If you're running a hotter like drive pedal into it and you don't want to push the amp too much, you can use the low input mode. But overall, I don't know that it makes as much difference as the mode. Let's start turning up the volume and driving the amp a little more. So let's move up here. We've got the volume on 7, and I'm back in the vibrato mode. If I go to the vibrato with the bright cap off, there's much difference. Let's try the normal mode. There you can hear some more kind of upper frequencies in the pick attack. So again, the differences are pretty subtle. Let's hear how it sounds when putting kind of drive pedals in front of it. So let's go ahead and go back to the cleaner, and let's turn on this Nobel OD1. Maybe raise the gain just a little bit. I feel like with the drive pedal in front of it, the character of the mode comes through a little more. Let's try this Archer icon into the higher gain stuff. huge difference there. Again, the normal mode is darker, but other than that, it's a pretty subtle difference. I think there, that clean difference you can definitely hear. It seems like, you know, the normal's kind of the warmest, the vibrato's kind of has the most edge to it, and then the vibrato with the bright cap off is kind of in the middle. But it's a really subtle difference. I was expecting it to be a bigger difference between the three modes, but I don't know that there's really that much difference, even when you're pushing it with the drive pedals. So interesting and good to know. I think generally I'd still probably go with the vibrato mode, although the normal, I think if you're going for a warmer tone, and you can maybe even add a little more treble to that. So we turn it up to 5. Maybe I'll start using the normal mode a little bit more. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd be interested to know kind of which mode you guys are using and why. For me, I'm just kind of enjoying getting to know this and really kind of learn the ins and outs of this specific amp. I hope you enjoyed it too, and thanks for watching.